Shalom Aleichem. This is Rabbi Yehuda Shane, administrator of Kashrus Anytime, which is a division of the Kosher Consumers Union, a 501c3 organization. We'll talk today a little bit about, in Kashrus, we have manufacturing companies, which is usually industrial. We have commercial facilities, and we have restaurants, caterers, which is called food service, and there's a very big difference between them and the type of Mashgiach that you have to give. Usually in industrial companies, they buy in larger quantities. There's a storeroom. You could see everything. It's in larger size containers, etc. And everything's accessible. And you see exactly what there is. And they'll take out a bag of this, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, to make their form with whatever else it is. It is more controllable than a little restaurant where they buy things in small packages. They run out of something, they'll run to the local store right across the street or something like it and pick it up, and it comes in. Not always will you be able to keep track of what was that item that just came, where it's kept, and you can't just look over the whole place every single day. In an industrial place, you see what comes in. It's either came in packages or comes in by tankers, etc., etc. You have much easier a way of controlling if your system is set up right. But if the system is not set up right, an ISO facility is very, very easy to track the thing, which is an international standard organization, or any other one of these things. It's a lot easier to keep track of what's going on versus a restaurant. On the other hand, commercial, you have some of the same issues in commercial, but less of a issue that's controllable like in industrial things. And you have other type of issues to watch over there. Your equipment is not always used for the same things, etc., etc. And then you have food service. Food service, usually they do milchiks and they do fleishiks. So you have to have separate areas completely designated with sinks and with everything with racks, and everything has to be marked properly. For fleishiks and for milchiks, you have to have separate ovens, complete different areas, and then you usually have a parva thing with your onions, your other type of things, a parva. Once it goes out and comes back, it's always whatever it went out, but it's kind of complicated in keeping your separation. Restaurants, on the other hand, is usually either a milchtika restaurant or a fleishik restaurant. So but you will have in both of them, very often you'll have fish. Not only in the 9 days, and other times you'll also have fish, which is parva. You have to make sure it didn't go into the oven with the fleishik, etc. But it's harder to control, but you don't have milchiks and fleishiks to be concerned about at the same time. Then you have bakeries. Bakeries you have some are strictly parv, some are parv and dairy, and they have the question if they can have separate ovens or not. So in Sachtas, Sachtas has most of the bakeries in the metropolitan New York area. The reason is because they allow the bakeries to have the same oven for parv and milchiks with little so-called they'll call it a little bit of a burnout, that they raise up the temperature for a half hour in between. They don't really clean it, even though from cheesecake and things do run over, but they feel that nothing really runs over. The OU, on the other hand, will not let you have the same oven for fleishiks and for milchiks and parv. You have to have two separate ovens. And what happens is a lot of other things that could get mixed up over there. Your glazing for the danishes, the glazing all looks the same, but you have milchika danishes and parva danishes, which you will put on when it's hot. And if your glazing looks the same, you're not going to know if that's really milchiks that went on to milchika danishes or it's parva, but that's the way it goes. Then you have to have your most of these bakeries are basically working at night. The question is, do you have a Jew over there? Don't you have a Jew over there? Hashem Shabbos. And what do you do by taking challah? What's the control? How do you have it done over there? It's not easy. It's a little bit complicated, but basically it's doable if you really want to have it done. And if it's not doable, basically, usually because it's done at night and nobody's going to see anything, etc., etc., so really nobody is so-called going to catch you. And then you have a problem with some of these bakeries, as you know, was caught. Shemesh Shabbos bakery, so-called wholesale bakery, was caught working on Shabbos. Did Mashgiach take her off? No, they just gave the guy a fine and gegangen weiter. And the guy made a cheshbon that pays for him to pay the fine. And because he got caught at this time, but he's been making it very well since then and afterwards. Then you have in the bakeries, in the restaurant, and the food service, you have the thing of fresh eggs. That eggs have to be checked, especially if it comes from Amish country, from Pennsylvania. Over there, they do have males also, and so those shilas of blood spots might be a derisa. When you have that softening ara, that there is no roosters over there, it may only be a shilah of a rabbanon. So they have other things, which other places will, because of that, let a goy do the checking of the eggs, and they'll give him $1 or so if he finds something. The OU does insist that the mashgiach's job is checking eggs, but on the other hand, if he has to do bedikas toilom or something else that is bishul yisrael or something like that, which is a little bit more important to get to be there, and he can't do both of them, then they'll allow the mashgiach to work out with a guy that they'll give him $1 or two to do it. But in the general circumstances, they want to have that the mashgiach checks the eggs also. In other places, in Lakewood and other places, the hashgach is allowed the guy lechatchila to go check the eggs. Then the question is, by these restaurants and caterers, what's with real kalim? Do you have to have the kalim or not? The Moshe has a tshuva on it, that basically if you have your caterer or restaurant that didn't tovel the kalim, then basically if it's a soup you can't eat it. If it's something not a soup, you should take it out of the plate. It doesn't become also, you take it out of the plate, put it down on a napkin or something, or on a paper plate, and eat it that way. But you can't use the utensils, not the fork, not the knife, not the plate, not the cup, in order to have it. Others want to say that caterers' utensils are considered clay mischer, which I believe is not correct, really. Clay mischer, the way it was in Europe, when the other ones wrote about it, Mashgiach and all clay mischer, was that it was like the hardware store in town. When people made up a mitzvah or sheva brachos or simcha, they didn't have large pots or pans to be able to make a simcha. They used to rent from him, so he never used those pots and pans, and he only rented it out. So for him, there was no chiyuv of toveling it because he doesn't use it. For them, it wasn't a chiyuv to tovel it because they rented it from him. So that was called clay mischa. But over here, when you have a caterer or a restaurant, it's his kalim that he uses. It's not that it's for mischa. For Michel, yeah, he's serving those things on there, so those things, and the Balabas himself very often will eat from those things, this and that. So I think the whole heter of clay mischer really does not carry any weight, really, this manazah, and you should really make sure that every place was they tovel the kalim, and yeah, there's nothing wrong. You ask the mashgiach who's responsible for the kalim, and do they tovel the kalim over here or not, and make your decisions based on that. Because they're looking for leniency on that, they may be looking for leniency on other things. Such as the question is with mezuzahs. Number of caterers I see are very, very lax in having mezuzahs up in all their places. If they're lax in mezuzahs, they may be lax in other areas also, and they don't have the shmira, etc., etc. It's the shmira of the mezuzah is not only for genevas or anything else; it's for shmira for a lot of other things. And your kasha should be right. And if they don't really care about that, how much are they going to care about other things that you also have a more legitimate concern? And what are these places doing about b'dikas talom? In industrial plants, you have less of a problem with b'dikas talom. In food service and in restaurants, it's very serious. And what are they doing? And if you really look around, some of them will tell you they're doing like the Starcade. They'll tell you we do this, we'll mark it on this, we'll mark it on that. But Lamaisi, you talk to the mashgiachim, you go down to the places. It's basically it's not true. It's basically the guideline that they tell the mashgiach, the Starcade, is as follows. Do play around, whatever you want to do with the vegetables. We don't care what you want to do. Just make sure that the Balbos has everything he needs. If you have time to check, good. You don't have time to check that, but the train has to go. Make sure he has what he needs, no matter what you want to do. As they used to say in other places, you want to give it your blessing, but just make sure he has what he has, and that we're not going to hear from him any complaints that the rabbi did not provide him. He doesn't have enough vegetables, and we're talking about market vegetables, which are mostly muhsik b'telom. They have in another category, the hospitals and the nursing homes, the retirement homes. what leniencies they have in the hospital and that, and then don't forget in the hospital a lot of them they're heating up the food in microwaves, and very often that double wrapping, which we've seen a number of times, the double wrapping opens up, and really the food is also because they've used that microphone also for non-kosher and for possible cholov, etc., etc. Nursing homes, sometimes you have that problem and sometimes not. Well, usually not. It depends. If it's a mostly a non-Jewish nursing home and they have a few Jewish patients, they might use also those kind of meals and heat it up in a microwave. And you have to check up and make sure and see what the way it comes, etc. And in restaurants, nursing homes, hotels, caterers, and everything, what's happening with the dishwasher? They have two separate dishwashers. They have one dishwasher. And what happens if one dishwasher goes down and they need another dishwasher? Are they going to use that dishwasher? They're not going to use the dishwasher. When they have deep fryers, is he using a separate one for the fish and a separate one for the chicken? Hopefully, or by milchiks, separate for the fish and separate for the other ones. And then what happens with the vegetables? Did he deep fry his chips or something like it in the fleishka fryer, and now he's going to give it together with the fish? Those things turn out to be a problem. And the same thing when they're heating up in a commissary or caterer, but they're making a fair, they might be heating up in the same oven with the fleishik oven. They're heating up all the side dishes, the vegetables, and those same vegetables are going to go with the fish plate. So they should be really heated up separately, the vegetables, whatever might go also on the fish plate, so you don't have that type of mix-up. We're not going to get into really much about the Shabbos things. Usually Shabbos and Yom Tov, one of your biggest, not only Shabbos and Yom Tov, is your issue is the party planners. By Shabbos and Yom Tov, we'll get to it another time. But during the week, the party planners will bring all different type of things to the thing besides food items that they bring, which may very well be questionable. I'll tell you, well, I got it from this one and that, but I know this lady, I know this one I got from here, this one I got. Very often, a lot of them do not have no office, and they picked it up from here, and they got it from there. They're putting it together, and it goes. It has to be fancy, and they know party planner was not going to get paid right, and the person would feel that he didn't really spend his money right for the expensive party plan unless they really got into a challenge with the caterer and they argued with him and they fought with him and this and that, and in order to be able to get in that thing, then they feel they've done the job. A lot of times they'll bring in their own utensils, a lot of them, which most of the time I find that they are not labeled, which you really should not be using them, and you don't know for what they've used it before, because none of the party planners are under any hashgacha. They could have used it in for items that you wouldn't have allowed, and they a lot of times will use it for hot items, other things on a smorgasbord or something else. Like you got to be very careful with the party planners coming in with their toys over there. Then by the restaurants and these kind of things, you have to know, are they using holy stroll? Is all the things holy stroll? When they count holy stroll, they're counting only certain things on holy stroll, because now cholov akum bismanas in America is a very big problem, because there is really no cholov stam. According to Moshe, he writes in the Tshuva and Simon Chav that basically we could call it that it's cholov treif. And there is really no heter for it. Nobody Ashford is no heter for it. Rose no. Basically, everybody that knows what the Metzias is and the facts, there is no heter in America to use anything that's not holy straw because of the operated cows that has the displaced mason operation, the bloating operation, the C-section operation. They usually run between any place from 4 to 8%, and Shishim is 1.6. Then in these places you get into the ASIC of what kind of meat and poultry they're using. Oh, the whole year, yeah, usually we use this and that. Usually does not mean that that's used exclusively, because they run out or they need something or they found it cheap. They can use something else also, which you may not realize and you may not really be comfortable in using it. But a lot of them don't really go and ask about it. When a guy says, "Oh yeah, by me, all my meat is Beis Yosef," Beis Yosef is not a brand or something like it, and it depends. It depends whose Beis Yosef is. It depends what the standard of Beis Yosef is. Is it your standard or not your standard? You should know enough questions to ask. Check with your Rav about the Svardish Rav about Beis Yosef. What exactly to ask and which ones are acceptable, which ones are not acceptable. If it's not acceptable, just plain don't eat it. Then those that are makbar on Yosham basically should be able to check up and know is these places where you're going, are the things Yoshin or not, or is it only Yoshin by request? So you have to know what it is. And is Bishul Yisrael, but all over done is Bishul Yisrael Beis Yosef and the Goan, or is it just Bishul Yisrael for Ashkenazim? And then you have to know, are all the pilots working? Is the Mashgiach really on the ball? Check out the Mashgiach, find out if all the pilots in the place are working or not working. Start asking some questions. In a restaurant and sometimes even by caterers, the Mashgiach is called a working Mashgiach because the restaurant is very hard for them to pay the whatever 15, 18, 20, $22 an hour for Mashgiach, and he's walking around doing nothing. At least they feel he's doing nothing. Even though he's taking vegetables, checking in all the orders, the achrayas that he carries the Mashgiach, that is worth a lot to make sure. Once you can have him as a working Mashgiach, he's got to do something. I hope you're not going to make him go wash dishes or sweep the floor or anything, because otherwise, at least the OU would make the Mashgiach walk home and take off the ashkach for such a type of thing. But there are others that, they feel that if a Mashgiach is, they see him standing around, he's not doing anything, even though he's watching what's coming in and what's going, what the goyim are doing, and there shouldn't be no bishalakim issues, this and that. They feel he's doing nothing, not worth anything, and they'll try to challenge him. Oh, he's not doing, he's this, and they'll always complain about it. The more a Mashgiach knows about the science of food, the better Mashgiach will be. He'll start realizing what's happening, what they have to do, what he has to watch for, etc. He'll be able to chop all the things with bishalakim things. He'll realize in advance, and he has to know exactly how steam kettles work, how those other things work, because steam kettles, when you have a tilt kettle, which is a steam kettle or a brazier, a tilt one, and you, even though the Mashgiach turned on the fire, he's got to realize when they turn it to a certain angle, there's a switch over there that'll shut off the thing, and when the guy turns it back, after he washed it out and he puts it straight again, now the thing goes on, and really everything after that is not basically Yisrael anymore. So he has to know how the equipment works. The same thing with steam. You have to know exactly how the steam works. Where's the steam coming from? What's happening? Does he have to always open up the steam line, or he doesn't have to open the steam line? Then he has to be concerned about Bashin Salam, fish, cheese items, dairy items, dairy items, meat items, this and that. If they're sending it out on an order or going out with the truck to a job, etc., he's got to make sure that everything has proper chesamas. It needs two chesamas, etc., etc. He has a lot to watch to make sure that that's what happens. It's known in some of the pizza stores, all the things, the guy has a roll of sealing tape with him, and he grabs his couple of orders, and he goes out to make his deliveries, and before he goes into the house, he'll put on the sealing tape, and as if it was kosher and was done by the store. So that's what a Mashgiach has to make sure. But it happens to be that a lot of these so-called Hamish places, they feel that if the balabos or the manager is a former person, you really don't need a Mashgiach. But nobody's watching for all of these things to make sure that you don't have these kind of issues over there, which basically is serious issues. Okay, we'll continue at another time. Kol tov.